And we're going to create a polygon primitive cube here, and we're going to explore a tool called the Bevel Tool. The Bevel Tool can be used in object mode to affect all of the surface's edges. It can be used in face mode to affect surrounding edges. It can be used in edge mode to affect selected edges, and it can be used in vertex mode to affect vertices. To begin with, let's take a look at what this does in object mode to something like a cube. If I select the cube in object mode and come up here to Edit Mesh and click Bevel, what you will see is that it bevels the edges. Now, for those of you who may not have a background in manufacturing stuff or engineering or mechanical drafting, a bevel is basically where you cut an edge at an angle. Usually there's specific angles when it comes to things like engineering and manufacturing. I think it's like 45 or something like that, but I wouldn't say it's exact in Maya. Now you'll also notice this menu pops up, and this is how we control our bevel. If we turn on wire on shaded, we can see this a little bit better. So I'm going to click that so we can see it. And then utilizing this menu here, you'll see fraction allows us to control the tightness of a bevel. So we can make this tighter to an edge. Segments allows us to add segments. And this is a really important one because notice here that we have a triangle here, and you know that has issues with subdivision. So if we set the segment to 2, you'll notice that it turns that into quads. Very useful. Depth is an interesting one. If you play around with depth, it will actually push these in or out, and you'll see you can pair segments with different fractions to create very complex shapes. So something like this would be a nightmare to model by hand. You can see with this situation, we're utilizing a single tool. Depth can also go outward, so you can use it to round corners. I usually have it set to 0 unless I'm trying to create something specific, and usually don't use segments over 2. So just be aware of that. That will get that set up. Now we have a few different options as well here. So let's go ahead and just kind of go through these so you're aware of them. Let me increase the depth here. Mitering, you'll see is set to auto. You can also switch to uniform, patch, radial, or none. You'll see there is no effect here. That's going to deal with how this wireframe is created across complex surfaces. You can see that this mitering will also be an effect here. Not going to do anything on this example. So those would be an example for another time. I don't know if we'll get to that in this course, but you can read up on them in the Maya documentation. Now, the last one that's really useful here is chamfer. And chamfering is what you're seeing when you see that edge occur. So you'll see that we're getting that curve with the bevel. If you set a chamfer to off, it will actually just add edge loops. And you might recognize this from an earlier project. These are holding edges. So if I press 3, you'll see that it will actually allow us to smooth out cubes very quickly. And if I adjust the fraction here, you'll see that, there we go. Now, let's go ahead and delete this and give another example. I don't want you to be under the impression that this by any means is a way to create holding edges for all objects. If we take something like a sphere, for example, here, and we apply a bevel to this, you'll see the end result gives us something a bit like a disco ball. So we get these tight edges here. And if I were to press 3 and turn off the wire on shaded, this would actually make it hold all the edges and give us, faceting. So with something like a rounded surface, you've got to be careful. You can't just bevel an object. So if you have something that's complex, it has rounds, it has straights, then you'll need to be more selective. Looking at this for other ways, you can utilize this by selecting a face, and you'll see if I do a bevel, it will bevel along that surface. You have all the same controls, so you can fraction this, you can change the segments, you can change the depth, so you can see how that can be used to create a lot of different shapes. Very useful. I'm going to undo that. You can use it on more than one face at a time, so we could shift to have 2 faces in bevel, and now we're getting something real wild. Don't know what all is going on there, but hey, look at that. That's a pretty cool little sci-fi piece, right? So we can create some really nice things there. So getting acquainted with this is good. It's going to allow you to have an idea of how to approach a lot of different things. You can see this could be used for like a shoulder pauldron or something on a character. It can also be used on edges. If I select this edge and we do a bevel and I add in segments, you can see we can get this nice rounded shape. Remember, we achieved this previously with smoothing with different edge loops, but this could be useful. Just be aware, though, this does give you n-gons. So right here, this is a big old n-gon, and we would need to resolve that. Are there tools we can do this with? Absolutely. I don't know if we're going to get to them in this section, but you can, okay? So we might explore that in a later section. You can also do more than one edge at a time. So let's say I wanted to do these 3 edges here, and I wanted to bevel all of these. We could bevel all of those, and you can see we can create all sorts of different shapes. Bevels can also be used as a means of splitting something. So for example, if I come in here to polygon primitives and I grab a torus, so for example, let's say we wanted to create something like a chain segment. This would be a great way to start because it has the rounds here and it has rounds here, but it has this issue where if I go ahead and pull out from here, we end up with this tapering on either side. So you can see we have a tapering there and we have a tapering here. So we end up with something that has a sort of rounding. Now after smoothing, that's probably not that noticeable, but let's say we wanted that to be straight. A way we could do that is using a bevel, and we could use it across these midsections here, across these edge loops. So when you use a bevel along an edge loop, what happens is it just splits it, and it splits it evenly in either direction. And you can add segments if you want to maintain roundness, but you can see how it splits that. Now I'm going to undo, because to create a chain segment, what I would want to do is double click here and do a edit mesh bevel. And now that side has a split and that side has a split. So now if I were to come in here to, let's say, the top view and try and figure out why the bevel's not where I put it, there it is. If I were to grab one side and move it, you'd see that we would get a straight side there. And we don't really need to worry about moving out one way or the other. We could just move out from one length to here and there. And now from here, if I were to duplicate this, rotate this 90 degrees, and just move it into place, we can start to create chain links. So you can see how the bevel can be used there to cut that across. And that's going to be the Bevel tool in a crash course.